Hello, it's Jimmy Akio. I'm in my arcade room and here to discuss the fight between Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. on June 28th, coming up very soon. A lot of different factors going on here. We're going to go through all that. We're going to see who the experts are picking, other fighters are picking, and we'll decide, I'll decide at the end who I think is going to win. And of course, all the information I give you is just a handful of things I've seen and what from a boxer's perspective, what I've seen and what I think will happen. Jake Paul is probably one of the biggest names right now. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't like that. Real fighters don't like that. But Jake Paul has actually got boxing new fans. So I like that part of it. And there's big attraction because of Jake Paul. So I do like that part. Jake Paul now is picking Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Chavez Jr. has fought like once in a year. I think he's only had a couple fights within the last couple years. He's said to have had a drug problem in 2024. So, I mean, a lot of things have happened. So that's why some people don't respect it. Some things are saying that it could still good if he's in shape. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. because he's known to have gone to the gyms, hit the bag for a couple rounds, and then go home. So if he's in great shape, they say he can win. And we're going to get into all of that coming up. But let me talk about Jake Paul first. That's the biggest headline right now. And I know people don't want to say that for Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is a former world middleweight champion with 3 title defenses under his belt. But Jake Paul with only 12 fights, 11-1, even lost one. He's still, his net worth as of 2024 is $100 million. They say by the end of 2025, his worth is going to be $150 million. But we'll see after this fight. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is 54, 6-1, 34 knockouts. And his net worth is $4 million. He's had some very big fights. Tons of experience, lots of fights compared to a Jake Paul with only 12 fights. So even though Julio didn't have any amateur fights, maybe 1 or 2, just like Jake only had 1 or 2. But the pro experience is a big deal, especially since he's had so many fights. But Jake Paul, begin back to Jake Paul. Which is insane to me is that how much money Jake Paul is pulling in. The last fight with Mike Tyson was seen by 60 million viewers on Netflix. I was one of them, and he got $40 million for that fight, for an 8-round fight. I've never seen that in boxing, where someone makes that much money for an 8-round fight. It's usually a championship fight, 12 rounds. But for 8 rounds, he made $40 million. Isn't that crazy? And Mike Tyson made $20 million. It's just crazy he can come to that kind of money. But he also fought a guy named Steve Perry before Mike Tyson, and he made $8 million off of that fight. So you're talking about a guy, he fought, all right, let me talk about the money Jake's making because he's such a big social media star. For Nate Robinson, that basketball player, when he got knocked out cold, he made $1.2 million. He made $2 million for Tyron Woodley. He made $1.5 million for Anderson Silva and $3.2 million versus Tommy Fury, the fight he lost. But after pay-per-view and all that, they probably said he probably earned about $30 million just off that one fight alone. And of course, against another fighter he knocked out in the first round, I think first round or second round, Andre August, he made $7 million. It's very unheard of, but like I said, the social media star is just a huge deal. Now, Chavez Jr. is not a stranger to these big fights either. He's made some big money off these big fights. With Sergio Martinez for the unification of the middleweight title, he made $3 million. Canelo Alvarez, he made $3 million as well. Daniel Jacobs, he made $3 million. Looks like the highest he's made is like $3 million from the fights. But I think Jake Paul is going to make his biggest, or against Julio Cesar Chavez is going to make his biggest payday against Jake Paul. But I haven't seen the numbers on that. They haven't given that numbers out yet, so I really can't explain that one. But anyways, we're going to get right to the experts, and I'll see a little training footage of both of them, and then we're going to get the experts talk on and other fighters on who they think is going to win the fight, and we're going to go from there.
see this fight going. If Chavez comes with the mentally prepared attitude of I'm gonna come and I'm gonna beat this guy and I'm gonna make it look easy, and if he trains himself, then he's gonna win. But if he's not focused, not disciplined, then Jake Paul's gonna come and probably upset him, because what I see out of Jake Paul is that hunger and that confidence, and when people have that, that's a hard combination to beat.
Decision or knockout?
Wayne Jr. to stop him. You remember, Chavez Jr. can punch. So I've been saying Jake Paul, Chavez can really punch.
I think Chavez Jr. He has game, and he has a lot of career.
For my boy Chavez. He's got skills too, so it's not gonna be an easy fight. But I'm going for Chavez.
Even for us, like, has he faced a real fighter yet? Has he faced a pro fighter yet? I think that it's a great startup to test the waters for Jake Paul. He finds a way to make it entertaining and execute. Julio Cesar Chavez por Jr., I haven't seen him fight in a while. We'll see what he does. You know, I think this is going to be a good step up for Jake Paul, though, at the end. You know, and see if he's really serious about the boxing world. And I think he has been. You know, he's been showing that with MVP promotions, supporting the women's empowerment on that.
Great.
He's been really pushing it, so I think it's exciting for everybody. You know, may the best man win, and, you know, let's see what happens.
Cesar Chavez was, at one point, a world-class fighter. The problem is, can you all of a sudden, after that huge roller coaster of your life, just have a good camp for a few weeks and then be a world-class fighter again? The answer is no. Does he have to be a world-class fighter to beat Jake Paul? Not necessarily. So I actually like this fight. I think it's good matchmaking from Jake Paul, because I think he will win. And I actually think he'll stop him as well, because I just feel like Chavez, if he can't get into the fight, we've seen him sometimes look for a way out. We saw it many years ago, even against Daniel Jacobs. And I think the size of Jake Paul. Don't forget, Julio Cesar Chavez was a middleweight, then he was a super middleweight, then he kind of flirted at light heavyweight. Now really he's up against a cruiserweight. And I think it'll be a competitive fight. But I see Jake Paul winning by late stoppage.
Es una oportunidad para él, para que se reivindique, y creo que es una oportunidad muy buena para él, y confío mucho plenamente que tenga esa victoria. Le deseo lo mejor. Pues debería de ganar Julio. Una buena preparación, mentalmente hacerlo bien, y debería de ganar él.
I think I'm gonna take Jake Paul in that. I think I'm gonna take Jake Paul by decision.
Any reason why?
I don't know. I have a feeling. I have a weird feeling that somehow you're gonna pull it out.
First off, I ain't never shared the ring with Jake Paul. Secondly, I gotta go with Jake Paul. I don't know if y'all seen that training clip of Chavez, man, but he was looking like he been living that life, man. And it's a young man's sport. We know he's got the experience, but hey, didn't he lose to Silva already? You know what I'm saying? A guy that, you know, there's no triangle theory, but still, you know what I'm saying? It was pretty evident that Jake was better than Anderson. And Anderson wiped Chavez. But, you know, shout out to Chavez, man. You know, hopefully he does his thing.
You know, I think you know, Chavez is coming for a check. You know, he can't fight no more.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
He can't fight no more. Yeah, you know.
Chavez Jr. just got a fucking name. And Jake Paul actually, he trained with some guys from Detroit. He actually learned this style of boxing and using his jab, fundamental boxing. And he's actually growing as a fighter. No matter how many boxers don't like it, the motherfucker actually getting better. With that being stated, he fighting a duck. I don't care what he accomplished. I don't care who his daddy is. He fighting a duck. Everybody know Julio Cesar Chavez don't fucking train. He's a drug addict and a bum. So
he could fight. Jake Paul know how to box, and keep underestimating him. That's their mistake. So Jake Paul for sure.
Nah. I want Jake Paul away because I got something for Jake Paul down the line. But boxing wise, I think Julio beat him up if he's not careful. Because Julio could fight. He just, on the top guys, he won't be a world champion, but Julio could fight.
Hello, Jimmy Hockey. I'm back. Okay. Now, we just saw all the people putting their input on what they think. Now, obviously, the guy with more experience has a big edge. But then again, you got to also think that Julio Cesar Chavez had been through alcohol, drugs, a long layoff. He's 39 years old, 40. And he's coming back. So we're trying to see now. I mean, he's got all the experience that's necessary to give Jake a hard time and beat him. And he's a great body puncher. When's the last time you've seen somebody go after Jake Paul's body? And I think Julio Cesar Chavez can do some major damage. But The thing we got to question now is Julio Cesar Chavez, is he shot at 39 years old? Is he shot? Is he? I mean, how is he going to be when when he starts getting hit? After a while, drugs and stuff like that will take a huge effect on you. You've been drinking and drugs and all that starts taking effect on your body to make you less resistance for a lot of things. And so that's the thing we have to see what he's got left. Now, if he comes out strong and goes to the body, and I think body punching on Jake Paul is what will win against Jake Paul, or just the overall ability. But I think Jake has never really been hit really good by body punching, and I don't think Jake Paul can do it. I remember the body punch challenge with Ryan Garcia, who was 140 at the time, and he doubled over Jake Paul. And I just, I don't see. I don't know. I just don't think a few good, body punches on Jake Paul, I think will do something to Jake Paul. Jake Paul's never had people hitting his body, and I don't think he's very good with taking body punches. And Julio Cesar Chavez is known for being a body puncher like his dad. But if he was like his dad, he'd really fold up Jake Paul with those body punches. But then we got to think about how much Julio Cesar Chavez got left, because his last fight against Yuri Hall, Yuri Hall only had one fight. Only one pro fight, and he gave Julio Cesar Chavez a hard time. And even though Chavez came out with the victory, if he fights like that against Jake Paul, he will lose. But if he fights with the attitude of really wanting to win, it's very possible he can do it if he's not shot. That's what's the question about this fight is if he's really shot. Is he shot? Does he still have anything left after all the drugs and all the fights that he's had? That's 60 fights, a lot of fights. He's had like almost 60 fights. Or he has 60 fights, yeah. So he's had over 60 fights. So I mean, that's how much damage did that take off him? There's a lot of things to go under there. But if he's still good enough, Chavez can win this fight. If he still has that, if he still has something left, he can beat him. And the body punches, to me, could make a big difference in that fight. So that's the question we have with Julio Cesar Chavez. And now with Jake Paul. Jake Paul only has like 12 fights, so one of them's a loss. So is it going to be another Tommy Fury for him, where he just gets outboxed, he can't do nothing with this guy? But even though Jake Paul managed to actually even knock down Tommy Fury, it wasn't a vicious knockdown or nothing. It was just like wasn't really a vicious knockdown. But you got to see if Jake Paul, if he's training real hard. He's not a slacker and that kind of thing. He's a genius when it comes to marketing and all that other stuff he has, which shows in the money he's making and every fight for 8 rounds and stuff like that. So this is another big test for Jake, because this is actually the first legitimate world champion that he's fought in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Although some people question if Julio would have even got a shot if it wasn't for his dad. But, regardless, he was a world champion. Okay, and made 3 defenses against decent fighters. But that is the question that we're asking here. And we're trying to, my personal opinion, Sean Porter is picking Jake Paul by a vicious knockout. That's what he said. Eddie Hearns already said that Jake Paul would knock him out, but he'll have a hard time. Even Robert Garcia said there will be a hard fight, and that, but he can do it for Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. though. Now, my personal opinion, I think it's a good matchup, because there's so many questions that need to be answered, and this is a legitimate fight against a real world champion in boxing. But then again, you got those questions about Julio Cesar Chavez lost to the guy that Jake Paul beat, Anderson Silva. Now, Julio Cesar Chavez lost a pretty clear decision, and Jake Paul won a very clear decision over him. But of course, styles makes fights, so that might be going to the rug as well. So, but my personal opinion, I think Jake Paul should win this fight. But it could be a turn of event. Like I said, if Julio Cesar still has anything left in the tank, if he hasn't been diminished, the age, the drugs, it depends on how much it's taken effect on him. And so there's been some very funny moments in this thing, in the lead up to this fight with his dad and stuff. I'll put that at the end. I thought it was very funny. And but I think it's a good fight. I think it could be a very good fight. A lot of things can happen. Jake Paul could easily run him over because he's shot and knock him out. Then again, it could be Chavez hitting him with those body punches. Like I said, those body punches, I think, are going to make a huge difference. I'm going to let you see one of those videos with Ryan Garcia, like doubling over him with the body punch. And that's when Ryan was 140 pounds too. So this guy's a much bigger fighter and is a big puncher. And I mean, this is the guy, Julio Chavez Jr., who knocked down a very strong Sergio Martinez. And so, he's got some good punching power. He needs to throw a little bit more. But he's got the power. He can do it. And Sergio Martinez, like I said, is a very durable guy, and he was able to knock him down and had him in deep trouble in the last round. Now, my pick still is going to be Jake Paul. 60-40, I think Jake Paul is a master at the picking, even though he screwed up with Tommy Fury and he lost that one. But that was a close fight. But I think Tommy won a pretty clear decision. This fight could be a very rough fight for Jake Paul, but I think he's counting on the age factor. He hasn't been an active, very active fighter, and the age, and of course all the drugs. And I think Jake Paul's counting on that because Chavez is not going to wilt under the pressure or the big audience there because he's been in those big fights before. So it's not that's going to happen. And we all know that Jake already can handle all that as well. It's not a big deal for him to be in a big atmosphere and tons of people. Sometimes that affects other fighters. But these two fighters won't be affected by that one. Regardless, I'm picking that one. And I want you to see this body punch by Ryan Garcia, though. And a couple other things as well. And before we sign off.
That last one was killer. Oh my gosh. You good, bro?
Este es el examen más difícil para Julito.
Vamos a ver.
Let's see if that's true.
I think it's funny that Daddy does all the talking. I didn't know it was Bring Your Dad to Work Day.
No sabíamos que que el papá tenía que hacer el palabrerío, que no sabía que este era el día de traer al
But
padre
then
al
again,
trabajo.
you're nothing without your dad.
Pero tú no
Nepo
eres nadie
baby.
sin tu papá.
You were born with a silver spoon in
Me
your mouth.
confundí, dile que como le gustan los viejitos, creí que quería a mi papá. Dile.
You like old men. That's why I brought him, because maybe you like my dad.
If you could give Chavez Jr. a nickname, what would it be?
Cocaína.
And
Claudia, can you translate?
Le preguntaron que Jake, ¿qué apodo te daría si pudiera cambiarte el apodo? Y dijo cocaína.
Also, for...
Yo le regalaría un par de huevos, dile, para que tenga.
And he would give Jake a pair of eggs, meaning obvious.
Hello, Jimmy Hockey. I'm back. I hope you guys liked that. I find that very amusing and enjoyed that. And you saw even Julio Chavez Jr. like putting his hands on, like, oh my God. He's never been that kind of weird trash talking in his life. To have to see that with his son. Anyways, I'm signing off now, so please like, subscribe, and share my videos. And of course, lights out.